gonna go on and get a bit dark. Can we get dark?
You mean we
Not
haven't already?
in a not in the way of, well, let me not put anything on it and just ask the question. This one is about the dark side of self. Have you suppressed the dark side of yourself, and how has it served or been a disservice to you?
Yes. Well, y'all just heard a lot about it, truthfully. But uh, I don't. I think you're doing yourself a disservice by suppressing it. Uh, Personally, because I did my best to bury a lot of things, and eventually everything came to the surface. Like after a certain point, it happens to everyone, and the way they crash out is different, but it happens to literally everybody. If you stifle all of the dark parts of yourself and don't accept them as part of who you are and release them, you are doomed to catastrophe, in my opinion. Like there's no way that that serves you well. It also can bring out the worst types of characteristics in a person because you're spending a lot of energy and time burying parts of yourself. You're being inauthentic. You're being a fraud.
You finished? I want to jump
Yeah,
right on your
go
back
ahead.
again.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something. Yeah, 100%. I feel like I feel like self-suppression is only, I think it's meant to be like a momentary thing in a situation. If you know you need to suppress your anger to calm down, cool down, get a level head, and then whatever. I don't believe that suppression of self in any way is supposed to, it's like putting pressure on something and eventually it explodes and then it erupts nasty, right? Like, so even with me trying to, I'm gonna say something. Even with me trying to like quit drinking and smoking, right? So I will sit there and I'll tell my friends or the people around me like, I'm like, I'm getting ready to start. I'm not gonna do it for 2 months, let's just say. Boom. After like the first week, now I'm sitting. So now after the first week, I may do it for the first week, couple of days. Now this is honest. Now I gotta sneak and do it. I gotta hide and do it. I gotta do it in ways so when I get around them that I don't smell like weed, my eyes is not droopy. I don't have. Now I gotta do these things to, you know what I'm saying? And now that's a whole nother problem. So now I'm lying. I'm not being authentic. I'm going on doing all of this stuff.
Right.
I'm causing more headache, more problem. Now I'm being overwhelmed doing this. Now I got to keep up with this. And then the moment that somebody's smelling on me and they pull my coat, now I'm getting defensive. Now I'm doing it. Now I'm lying. Now it's just, no, I'm not suppressing. No, suppression. No, 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 no. There's so much more I could say about that, but that's my quick answer. No, no suppression of self. You be moderate. You know you like rap music and you know what it do for you when you know that it can start getting you to think and move in certain type of ways. Have control over it, like, you know what I'm saying, give yourself some and discipline yourself. But to suppress and be like, no, I can't, no, because it's never gonna be good. That's my opinion.
And you just said it, you know, but all I was thinking while you were speaking is discipline versus suppression, because discipline is something else. And what we talked about earlier was discipline and growth. When you learn to discipline yourself, you're not pushing something down. You are you're in a habit of behaving in a more controlled manner. When you suppress something, you're being inauthentic. And I think the shadows, what I've learned for myself with the shadow is, and my cousin, who is like my twin, we're the same age and we grew up together. We had a conversation one time and it really helped me as a mirror to see myself, that I think when you are really kind and loving and that's your way, the shadow matches the light. The shadow is as big as the light. So I think people that are really loving, that are light workers, that are the light, like we are, and I will claim that and put it on you. I know my shadow. My shadow equals my light, mate. And sometimes I'm afraid of myself. A lot of the time, the fear isn't of others, it's of me and what I'm going to do if I lose it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the danger for me, I've learned, of suppression. Because if I suppress that whole pressure cooker thing, and I used to do it as a child, and I used to do it a lot more in my younger years, there was a time in my life, and my family will testify to this, you know, obedient, doing as I'm told, whatever. And I'm suppressing. And then I just go mad. And my thing would not to hurt people, it would be to trash my room. So growing up, I did that a few times over the years, like just destroyed, like went mad and destroyed. And they let me do it. I didn't get big discipline for it because deep down they knew she's justified in that. You know what I mean? Like, we've been riding her too hard, or such as whatever's been going. There was a time at school where I swore at a teacher when I was 16. And I was such a good girl at school. But I had a form tutor who was ex-police and he was racist. And all through from 11 to 16, he'd been doing stuff. And I'd been just suppressing it. And then one day he just pushed me over the edge and I told him to F off. And they phoned my mom. I didn't get in trouble anywhere. The school didn't discipline me. Mom didn't discipline me. Everybody knew she's justified, leave her alone. Because this man has been riding her like a train for 5 years and she's never done anything. And Caroline never kicks off and she's never rude in that way. So for me to swear at a teacher, angrily swear, tell him to F off and walk out, like there's a reason. So I think, yeah, the shadow will match the light, which is why light workers, we all have to really have that self-discipline. And Omae and I had the conversation yesterday about not pacifying things. You got to address it in the moment because it's that pacifying that builds the pressure cooker. You know, you got to let it out, or it will be an explosion.
Yeah, because I think if I was to look at my shadow self, I think that's the main thing. I can be very passive and just like not say the way I feel. And I feel like it's easier for me to do it with my friends. I think it's easier for me to like say with my friends how I feel. But with my sister especially, sometimes it can be more difficult. And I had another situation because when I was like younger, I'd do it a lot. And I think over the years I've got better at it, like kind of not suppressing that side of myself. But yeah, when I was younger, I'd just press it quite a lot, and then it would, like, same as mom, like come out in like a big burst of emotion and thing, and it wasn't healthy for myself. And this week I did it, like we were talking about it the other day, I did it with because I felt like my boundaries were being crossed, but I didn't say anything all week. And by the end of like yesterday, I had to really like do other things that can help me release my emotions, because it's usually like singing and dancing and stuff that helps me. And I had to do that because I didn't even realize how much it had been building up in me. But then when I kind of spoke about it, I did realize. And I think it's kind of accepting that like your shadow self, like the dark side of yourself, is still a side of yourself, and that actually in other situations it can be so useful. Like I had a situation with a friend, and like I actually had to, like, she was really like harassing me, and I had to tell her to leave me alone. And it was one of those moments that I've been trying to not be that way. I was like, oh, don't do that, you don't want to upset her. And I literally had like a light bulb moment, and I was like, you have to do this, like, and this is where that part of myself was beneficial, because she left me alone after that. But yeah, that like accepting all sides of yourself is so important for self-love. And I think, yeah, it's like it has been really good for me that I've not been suppressing it as I've gotten older. So
Cheers for that. You know what? I'm thinking about a battery right now, right? And how it has a positive and a negative side in order to provide power, right? And with our own personal power, both sides are needed. We need our positive and our negative side. I'm going to read something, and it says, the dark side of self, often referred to as the shadow self, encompasses the hidden, often negative aspects of personality that individuals may suppress or deny. It includes traits like anger, jealousy, selfishness, and other potentially harmful tendencies. While these aspects may be uncomfortable, they are a natural part of the human experience, and acknowledging them can be crucial for personal growth and well being.
I
Yeah,
think Omae is a perfect example of that, actually.
Yeah,
Like
that's what
Caroline
made me
being a
read
light
that.
worker and shining that light on her daughter helped her to more efficiently and more quickly transmute energy. Like imagine Caroline, you as a teenager, I'm sure it took you a lot longer to get to that space. And you probably had a lot more flare-ups than she has. But I mean, I think this is a perfect example of that. You absolutely, the purpose of a light worker who goes through a lot is to impose that on the next generation so they're less prone to seeing themselves as negative for having these feelings and emotions and moving through them in a more healthy way.
yeah, because we all know, we've all come across those people that are, you know, I would probably say, not probably, I would say about everyone in this space actually, that I wouldn't want to see, like the shadow of you, you know, the people that are really, really working in the light, you know intuitively that the dark, if you bring the dark out in them, you better start running. You know, the people that are kind of always kicking off and always got a problem, and that to me, I'm not intimidated by that. Like, it's like empty vessels, the most noise. But people that are really, like Mom said it before, when Omae was younger, there was one instance, I can't remember what happened, but she told her off for something. And she said, she gave me this look. She said, I was scared. Because you don't get that regular, you know what I mean? But and I've got other family members. I've got a cousin he is peace personified. He's so gentle and loving and kind, but if he lost his temper, yo, I'm off ski. I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna sprint in the opposite direction because I know the power that's gonna come from that. And I think what you read out, Emmanuel, is so key, is knowing, and what Omae said as well. What everybody said is that it's not bad. And it's that drawing of your sword thing again. It's actually very useful. And being nice isn't a good thing. Being kind is. But we all have to, goes back to that boundary setting. And it's the shadow that helps you to boundary set, that helps you to go, no, this is where I stand. And when people see that power, they're less likely to cross that boundary.
True indeed. True indeed.